Hello. Today we're going to go over a solution template that was designed specifically for sports analytics and sports science. Over the past few years, sports teams have been collecting much more information using IoT devices, and this template explores how one can make use of such data. Typically, teams want to know a few things. 1. How hard did my players work today? 2. How much capacity do my players have to do work? We call this players' readiness. And 3. What did the training week look like leading up to game day? In the following reports, we examine these three questions for the Seattle Reign women's soccer team. In the first page, we have a written explanation of the reports that follow this page. Power BI allows you to write text in the reports, which makes it easy to set context for someone who's new to the Power BI report. Our first real page contains one visual which answers the question, how hard did my players work today, as a percentage of their last 30-day maximum. This gives you a sense of how hard an athlete worked today relative to their recent history. For any anomalies, as we see here with Angela LeBlanc, we can immediately overlay any context that we have to this visual to make more sense of the data. It turns out that Angela was actually returning from injury, and this was her first training session back in a while. Of course, she'll be performing close to her last 30-day max, so there isn't any alarm here. Clicking on another day, we can see how the percentage of max changes relative to the number of days before the next game. In our next page, we have a conditionally formatted chart that is easy to read. Most of the time, athletes fill out subjective questionnaires that measure how they feel across multiple dimensions. Here, we're measuring an athlete's sleep quality, sleep hours, soreness, stress, fatigue, mood, hydration, if possible, which culminate into a total value called score. The conditional format lets us easily see who isn't feeling well and why they aren't feeling well. This type of report would let a coach understand if someone isn't fully fit to complete an entire practice and therefore requires training modifications. As we change the days to the left, we can see that Tasha Connor is not the one that's feeling well for Friday 6:10, and we can also do things like slicing by positional group. In our last page, we reviewed the training week leading up to game day. For a particular week, in this case July 4th, 2016, we see who's been covering a lot of distance while also trying to reach peak speeds during practice. We divide the scatter plot into quadrants to group together those people who are working hard versus those people who are not working as hard. In the upper right are the group that's working hard in terms of covering a lot of distance and also reaching peak speeds. In the lower left, we have people who are not covering much distance and not running that quickly. If we click on someone from the scatter plot, we can see how they are relative to their team average across two metrics. The first metric here is meters per minute. The second metric is distance covered per sprint. As I change the week, I can see how my training week changes, with the blue being when game day was. And again, if I select on a player, I can see how they performed relative to the team average. There are other pages in this report that we didn't have time to cover. As you review the solution template, there may be reports that you didn't see in this video, but are important to you and your team. At the very least, I hope that we've been able to show you the flexibility that Power BI and POP gives you in designing the right analysis for your team.